On today's Movie Talk, we've got your weekend box office recap. On top of that, a Pirates in the Caribbean reboot is in the works, and we've got the very first trailer for the Grudge reboot. Gonna get into it today. Hello, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. I am thrilled to be joined by Roka RB3 today. But first, we've got call sheet topics to hit. We're kicking it off, of course, on a Monday with your weekend box office recap. Joker wound up reclaiming the top spot. It made an estimated $8.9 million with a very impressive 35% drop. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, on the other hand, did take a bigger hit of 50%, which left it with $18.5 million. And then at number 3, the lowest percent change of the weekend was The Addams Family, and that let it take another $11.7 million. Next up now, we're going back to the Martin Scorsese versus Marvel conversation because there are more quotes out here right now. The latest comes from Entertainment Tonight. The director returned to his theme park comment and said, well, look, the point is, in terms of this film, Netflix, theaters, what I'm talking about really are films that are made. Let's say a family wants to go to an amusement park. That's a good thing, you know? And at theme parks, there's these cinematic expressions. They're a new art form. It's something different from films that are shown normally in theaters. That's all. Hey, guess what? We're going to leave it at that today. No more further discussion about that unless more quotes surface. Now we're moving on to our next story, which is, No Time to Die has officially wrapped. On Friday, it was confirmed. And on top of that, the official James Bond Twitter account shared this photo that you're looking at right now, Friday evening, with a caption that reads, "That's a wrap on No Time to Die. See you in cinemas April 2020. #Bond25. All right, moving on now. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Disney hired Pirates scribe Ted Elliott and also Chernobyl creator Craig Mazin to develop a story for a new Pirates of the Caribbean film. Their report states the movie is designed to propel fresh wind into Pirates. The article calls the film a reboot, but it also says it's unclear if Jack Sparrow would return as a character or if Johnny Depp would return as an actor. More on that in a little bit. And the same is true of this next story here, which we're going to discuss in full in a panel segment today. It's the very first trailer for the Grudge reboot. This new movie stars Andrea Riseborough, Betty Gilpin, Damian Mashir, and Lynn Shay. And again, we're going to share our thoughts on this trailer shortly. All right, I can't wait to talk about The Grudge, but we got to go through the lineup right now, and I'm still equally as excited to talk about box office, of course, but before we even get into that, hello, Roka RB3.
Hey!
How are you guys doing? How are your weekends?
I'm feeling great. I had a great weekend. Just chilling, relaxing, listening to some Kanye West. It was a good time.
Yeah.
I
was enjoying the last vestiges of my birthday week with, I just bought a record player a couple of months ago, and my girlfriend surprised me with 4 new records. So I just sat all day Sunday while she was moving her sister in San Diego and just listened to records over and over. It was, I was 15 again. It was great.
Wait, so Kanye, what were you listening to?
I was listening to Bill Withers live at Carnegie Hall.
Okay.
Little Frank
Bill
Sinatra.
Withers. What do you know about Bill Withers?
I know a lot about Bill Withers. I'm older than you, son. Sketches of Spain from Miles Davis. I was listening to all of that. So really good stuff for me personally. So
You know what I was listening to?
What's that?
Dr. Sleep.
Oh, yeah.
I can't get enough audiobooks, and I'm still running.
Do you run with the audiobooks?
No, that is what I've been doing.
I could never do that. I have to have music.
It actually is really great when you have to run long distances, because if you could find a story that you could really lose yourself in, then before you know it, a really lengthy run is just over.
Wow,
and
nice.
I actually think that I've officially made the decision to run the actual marathon with Dr. Sleep and not my playlist as previously planned.
Okay.
It's happening. It's
I respect
happening.
that.
All right, let's get into these box office numbers now, because there are some pretty interesting things here. We recapped the top 3 just now. Roka, anything, I guess, in or out of the top 3 that really caught your eye?
Yeah, I think we didn't talk about it enough. I don't think the Addams Family thing has been really incredible how it's held on. It was in 3rd place now, and it's slightly below or above rather Zombieland Double Taps, and it came in at an estimated 11.6 million. It only dipped 57% in its second week, and it's at
28.
I'm sorry, 28% in its second. What? 28%?
28 for the Addams Family, and
yeah.
Double Tap was 57.
Right. So it's
That's
pretty.
a
Oh,
lot.
right. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Double
yeah.
take. So I'm just pretty surprised at what it was able to do and how it's holding on as an animated feature. Because a lot of people thought this wasn't going to hit, this wasn't going to make its money, but it's just hanging on, which tells you that there's still love for this Addams Family property, and certainly for these unusual animated, films as well. I enjoyed that, and I got to give a shout out to Black and Blue. I interviewed Tyrese on Friday. That'll probably drop today sometime, or it's out now. Tyrese Gibson talking about it, and that thing got an A+ cinema score and made $8.3 million over the weekend. Look, a lot of people as a corrupt police drama with a black lead, like you're not sure if it's going to catch people's attention, but it did, and it's supposedly a really damn good movie. So I love that. I'm happy about seeing smaller films kind of surprise people out of the gate.
I do really want to see that. It's like, even with the A+ cinema score, it opened so small that, like, how much can the word of mouth really catch on? And there's just so much competition. I was one of the Addams Family naysayers.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it was just because
think.
when Abominable came out, I did really like that, so my attention was so focused on that I'm like, oh, that might take a little of the momentum away from Addams Family. And it also felt like Addams Family wasn't pushed as heavily as many of the major studio animated movies. So I don't know. I wasn't feeling too high on that. Now look at it, because I had predicted that Zombieland Double Tap was going to come in at number 3 again, and that was going to be right behind it. And, who knows? We're working right now off of the estimates. For all when the actuals come in, the order could be, it could shake up a little bit, but still, Addams Family. I'm impressed.
Yeah, no. Going back to Black and Blue, Screen Gem has a really impressive track record with the films that they make, particularly targeted towards black audiences. And they've been test screening this movie for a long, long time, because I get a lot of those test screening and Vice or whatever. And it's great that it's doing an A+ cinema score. The critics didn't vibe with it as much, apparently, but I think if the audiences are liking it, they're digging it. Also, salute to Joker. I mean, number 1, I can't believe it went to number 2 after Maleficent and then got back to number 1. That's a huge victory. Yeah. And then also to just specialty box office, The Lighthouse expanded, made $3 million this weekend, and Jesus is King, the Kanye West movie that accompanied the album, opened in 372 IMAX theaters and made like a little over $800,000 and made like a million worldwide. So that's good. I mean, that's a big salute.
I had a feeling that was going to do pretty well when I walked out of my Dr. Sleep screening on Saturday night. It was something like 9:30, 10 o'clock. It was fairly late, and I saw a whole group of people just walk in asking for the next screening of that. So the fact that people were coming out for the late screening, like, all right, I'm curious to see how much this accumulates. The big story this weekend is definitely Joker, though. This to me is just such pitch perfect timing. I don't necessarily know how much Warner Brothers could have pre-planned all this, because I also think it's a matter of, other studios staking out certain dates on the release calendar. And, in the case of Maleficent, the fact that the movie came out and it wasn't all that great and the buzz had died, just everything worked in Joker's favor. It's like that kind of landscape for the month of October. Then you have all the discussion it sparked, all the enthusiasm about the movie. I mean, that 35% drop is really something else. The fact that it nearly made $19 million at this point in its run is kind of wild to me. The question, though, I have now for you is, not to rain on its parade at all, but we do have a really big release hitting theaters this weekend in Terminator Dark Fate. Yeah. How much of a threat is that going to pose to Joker? Are we going to see the bigger drop-offs at this point?
I think it's absolutely going to be a threat to it, because the early reviews for Terminator already are off the charts, and people are excited to see it. And I think that's what people are waiting for. Is this going to be as good as the first 2 installments that we wanted, that we enjoyed and loved? And certainly it is. Certainly it's getting that kind of, certainly I feel that way. And so I think it's going to be incredible. I mean, Dorian watched all 3 Terminator movies in a row on Sunday, and he loved the third one. So I think it speaks and transcends generations. It's a damn good movie. So a lot of people are going to come out to see it. But that being said, I still think Joker is going to power through and do its thing. Scott Mendelson on Forbes was saying it looks like it'll estimate around 975, but it depends on China. If China releases it and it gets a good amount of buzz, that will be the key to it crossing $1 billion. And when you invest $55 million in a movie and you make $1 billion, I hope Todd Phillips and everybody involved had a good contract in there to make some of that money and put it in their pockets, because that's an incredible thing to accomplish. And it speaks volumes to the quality of the film, in my opinion. This isn't a bunch of incels running out to do screenings. These are people who love the movie, who want to come back and savor it and enjoy it as a piece of art. And I think that speaks more to Joker's power. And hey, there wasn't any violence. What a shock. And so all of that was just, as you said, Perri, it helped boost it up. But now what's keeping it there, I think, is people's enjoyment of the film and the quality of the film, in my opinion.
And I really hope that that winds up being something that many other studios out there kind of really hold tight to. You don't have to spend $200 million plus to make a great movie. You can spend $55 million and make some really daring and bold creative choices, and people are still going to come out, especially if you make a good movie. So hopefully more follow in Joker's footsteps.
And you don't have to worry about the R rating, I think, too.
Yeah, no, and I think, well, to the point of Terminator competing with it, I still think Joker still has a lot of room to breathe, because, for one, I think the reception has been so good and it's still on the tips of people's tongues. I mean, I literally just was arguing with people this weekend still about Joker, you know what I mean? And people are still really excited about this movie. I think this goes to show that maybe the star this entire time wasn't Batman. Maybe it was the Joker. We see the Dark Knight being the most popular of the franchise, or the most popular of the Batman franchise. The only Oscar win we've really seen in a major acting category for the Academy Awards in terms of a comic book movie. So I think I think this movie's going to have a lot of Oscar potential too. I think that is what's going to push it over $1 billion. I think if they keep the release going long enough through Oscar season and even past that point, we could see this movie easily hitting $1 billion.
That's weird. Like, people were initially like people like me at the beginning were like, oh yeah, it's gonna get nominated, and then people see it and you hear some of the mixed reviews like, I don't know, is it gonna get nominated? But now the fact that it's making this push through the box office, I think you can't help but think that it's going to get nominated, and now has an even stronger chance to win, ironically, than it did when it first was released. So I find this to be a fascinating situation.
I'm still kind of, teetering on the edge with that. The only thing that I would think is still pretty much a lock at this point is a Joaquin Phoenix Best Actor nomination. I don't think it's like you look at that list of Best Picture potentials.
It's a great year.
We can have 10 nominations. It's not a guarantee we'll get all 10, but even with 10, I'm having a very tough time putting all the films that I believe in into that ranked list. And I don't know. I do think that some of the mixed reaction with Joker could keep it out of a category like that. But Best Actor to me is undeniable.
Brian Tyler Henry's in it, and he was in 3 Best Picture nominees last year. So
it's like the good luck charm.
Yeah.
Maybe Child's Play will get nominated too.
I
thought he was delightful in that movie. He's one of my favorites out there. All right.
That's good.
Let's go into this next topic now, which is a funny transition to make after the comment of you don't have to spend like $200 million plus on a movie. This whole Pirates of the Caribbean reboot thing, this isn't a new news story per se, just because we know from back in 2008, they tried to make this happen. And then it was Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, they backed out of it. So it didn't go forward. Now, of course, they have new writers on board, so, one could assume maybe this is the time for it to happen, for them to reboot this franchise, but I don't know. I think the biggest question here is this even worth doing when you consider how much money these Pirates movies cost to make?
Is it worth doing? Yes, because there's still life in this franchise. The last one made $800 million, so I will say yes, it's worth doing. But you're going to get a fight from me if you want to do it without Johnny Depp. I know what people say. I know how people feel. I get it. And, of course, more things are coming out, so there's a little more of a balanced point of view about that particular situation that people are holding on to and being sanctimonious about. And so, from my opinion, this is us in Hollywood would be like, oh, no, we shouldn't bring him back. But, look, it made $800 million. With Johnny Depp. Yes, was it $200 million less or a little bit under $200 million less than the previous one? Sure, but it wasn't as precipitous of a drop as Last Night was for Transformers, where you have to make that adjustment, right, with Michael Bay. This feels like you could still have Johnny Depp involved in this, but you've got to inject some new life. Are we going to get, they tried to introduce new characters in the last one. Didn't really stick with a lot of people, right? It's Johnny that sells it.
They tried to introduce people in the fourth one, and it didn't stick with people.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So with Johnny, what are you going to do here? Because are you going to have someone imitate Jack Sparrow, which is an imitation of Keith Richards? I don't know, how deep are we going to go with this?
And they just changed the face at Disneyland to Johnny Depp.
Right,
so,
exactly.
So
to me, I'm like, Johnny Depp is still a part of this franchise. This franchise still works, and it's a Pirates franchise, which never worked historically until this film. So to me personally, I think it's great to keep going, and in getting these writers to come in and inject new life into it, fantastic. But you're walking a very, very thin line to think you can introduce new iconic characters into the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise that will carry it. We could end up like Bumblebee, where it's a good movie and a lot of people like it, but it didn't make anywhere near the money that the great money-making installments of that franchise did.
I was all ready to weigh in about the franchise's box office history and how it had diminishing returns and everything, but new box office mojo strikes again. It took me forever to find that information, and now that I'm on the franchise page, I can only see domestic results, and I guess that confirms my statement because, what was it? Dead Men Tell No Tales is the lowest of the lifetime grosses for the domestic box office with $172 million, and it's a pretty significant drop-off that seemed to be consistent from film to film. But I wish I could look up the worldwide grosses, but I can't right now.
It made $800 million worldwide.
RB3, are you into this franchise at all, and do you actually, from a story perspective, want to see it rebooted?
Well, it's funny because for me, like as a kid, it was kind of Transformers and Pirates of the Caribbean were kind of coming out at the same time. So it was always that competition of like, do you like Transformers more? Or do you like Pirates of the Caribbean more? The Michael Bay Transformers.
Where do you stand on that, Rocha? I'm just kidding.
Oh, it's tough. It's actually tough.
Really?
I love them both equally.
I
love them both equally.
Yeah, we used to argue passionately as kids. So now seeing it as an adult, and I even remember seeing the fourth one, even though I think the fourth one also made like $1 billion. But I was in Istanbul, Turkey during that time. I was in middle school. And I went to a theater to see the fourth one, and it was actually packed out full for a 3D showing. So like it's still very popular internationally. I just don't know how it is in America. But for me, it's like I don't care enough about Johnny Depp either way to say I got to fight passionately for him. But I do think like if you're gonna scrap this and do a whole new reboot, you got to change it up completely. I think you got to go, and they got the guy from Chernobyl, who's the creator from Chernobyl, to do this. I think it'll be cool if they lean into more of a historically accurate route. Like I think it'll be really cool if they stripped away all like a lot of the fantasy stuff. I know it's a Disney film, and I know they're probably not going to do that. But if they made it like a real pirate story and made it like really, really like dope and modern, like not modern like in terms of the time period, but modern in terms of the action and the set pieces and stuff like that, I think could be interesting, and it'll differentiate it.
I kind of wish they would do that. I mean, again, it's Disney. This is never going to happen, but this is one of those instances where I'm like, go dark.
Yeah,
you want a dark?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well,
go dark.
Pretty dark already.
Go dark and go gritty, but it's like with my first question, is this worth it? Part of the reason why I think keeping this franchise alive will always be worth it is just because, a big part of the appeal of movies is wish fulfillment, is transporting yourself into a different time and place and going on a fantasy-like adventure. And that's part of the reason why I got super into this franchise to begin with. And, I'm never going to take away from what Johnny Depp did with this character because it's pitch perfect casting. And even in the most recent installment, I think he's always given this character his all. But I do think we've hit a point where, as far as Jack Sparrow growing as a character and what he's already given me, like, I don't know what else is really there. I have found some of the other characters to be the more interesting players. He's just an enjoyable person to have around them in these movies. So I think I'm with you on this. If you're going to reboot it, just start from scratch. Find that other special person out there who is going to turn this franchise into like an epic star vehicle for themselves. There are people out there that could do this. You don't necessarily need Johnny Depp. I also don't think you necessarily need Jack Sparrow. This is a rich world filled with so many different types of individuals. Show me something new.
Yeah, that's a hell of a chance.
That was a lot of stinky faces I got there.
Well, it's a hell of a franchise. It's a chance to take on a franchise like this. I'm not saying Johnny needs to be at the forefront or the lead, right?
Right.
Johnny has to be involved in some way. Jack Sparrow has to be involved in some way. If it's Jack Sparrow's kid or something like that, then that could be possible. But like if you remove Johnny Depp is the foundation that this franchise is built on. No one's running out to go see. Let me go see what's going on with Elizabeth Swann or Orlando Bloom's character. No, it was Johnny Depp that brought people in because Johnny Depp is the comic relief and enjoyment and fun of this franchise. And I think that to remove him is dangerous.
I enjoyed Jeffrey Rush's performance quite a bit.
He's great.
I would go
Certainly.
back to see more of him in that
That
role.
would be awesome.
Yeah.
Barbosa.
Listen, I think personally, like, you got to think about Johnny Depp, right? Like, he was an actor before
Yes, of course.
Pirates of the Caribbean came out, but Pirates of the Caribbean made him a star.
Yeah.
I think today they could find a really, really great actor and put him in this vehicle and put him in the Pirates or him or her and put them in the Pirates of the Caribbean universe and push it to the next level.
Now I'm intrigued.
Wait, were you
Now I'm
on
intrigued.
that episode of Rumor Mill?
Which one?
So just the one where pirates came up very
I
recently?
don't think so. No.
I can't remember who I was on it with. Someone had brought up the rumor that Karen Gillan was in talks to take.
That could be really interesting. I might be down for that.
It could be really interesting. I believe in her.
Yeah.
So I think she is phenomenal, and I think she does a wonderful job, going with more dramatic roles and also getting like kooky crazy. I think what she's done in Guardians and also the name is escaping me, Jumanji. I think
Jumanji was fun.
she can definitely be in a film franchise like this. The only thing that I would highly recommend Disney consider is to lower the budget.
Yeah.
Take that risk.
Yeah.
Take that risk to make something great, but also make sure you're not burying yourself in a hole you can't get out of by spending. I mean, these movies, I want to look up information so bad, but it's going to take so long. There is no doubt in my mind that most of these movies cost more than $150 million to make.
Sure, but they
they're all
also
like
brought back like 5-6 times their spending. So this is a track record where they've made money off no matter how much they spend. But I hear your point. Absolutely.
Think about Bumblebee, though.
Right.
It's, and even Hobbs and Shaw to a degree. Hobbs and Shaw made less than the Fast and Furious films proper. So you just need to plan for that. You need to get ready for that. And then you need to make more money by spending less. So that way you can put your profits into the next one and continue to build on a franchise rather than putting all your eggs in the film one basket.
Yeah.
Which so many studios do out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Drives me nuts.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to, plugs. So much content for you on the Collider Video YouTube channel. We've got stuff like, Sports Time. I wonder who's on that show. And also, Rule of Two. Check out these promos.
Hey guys, Riley here, and let me tell you about Rule of Two. You looking for a Star Wars fix? Well, Rule of Two is that show. It drops on Collider Video's main YouTube channel, as well as on Podcast One's Jedi Council feed. So go over there, subscribe, share it with your friends. It's hosted by myself and Mark Fernandez. We talk everything in the Star Wars universe with a lot of deep dives and a lot of conversations that go all in. You know what to do. Subscribe, join us there, and rise.
Hey everyone, John Rocha here, the host of Collider Sports Time. Well, if you've been watching us every week, we break down the latest and the greatest in the world of sports, talk about the big issues, the big games, all of it with a rotating band of guests like Matt Nose and Josh McCouga. We've had Taylor Bisciotti on. We've had so many great guests. Now, if you want to see more of Sports Time or you want to try it out for the first time, remember to subscribe to Collider Sports YouTube channel for all the sports goodness.
5 minutes later, I found the production budget for the most recent Pirates movie, and it was a whopping $230 million.
That's cheap, though.
Yeah.
I think the third one was like $300 million, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, don't dare me to look up another movie now.
I don't know.
But to Roka's point, the movie did make almost $800 million worldwide. So clearly these things still have quite the appeal.
Johnny.
All right. You know what else has a whole lot of appeal to me, at least? The Grudge. So I have been waiting for this trailer for so long. It feels like it kept getting, pushed, delayed, all that stuff, but it's finally here. This movie has a great cast, a very interesting director at the helm. I want to start with you on this, Roka, because I know you're not the easiest to please when it comes to horror movies. So first trailer for the Grudge reboot. Are you into it?
Yeah, this is fantastic. Scared the hell out of me at 8 in the morning when I'm watching it this morning, and I was just like, my God. And they bring back that iconic, whatever noise it makes, all of that it does. And isn't this a Japanese source? Like it was Japanese initial? Yeah, I remember when all those came out, right? Those were great. The Ring, Grudge. Dark Water, even I enjoyed with Jennifer Connelly, which isn't the greatest one, but I enjoyed that one too. But this looks fantastic. I love that John Cho's in this. I love that it's kind of a multinational cast too, with Damian Bashir in this, and the British actress from I always forget her name.
What?
The British actress who's in this from Birdman. Andrea Riseborough.
Yeah,
like all of these people getting involved in this. I love this. I love the cast, the way it is, diverse cast, the way it is. Plus, I mean, and let me tell you something. It's got all the hallmarks of horror, isn't it? Looking into a pool of blood. What are you doing? Why are you looking into a tub full of blood? What is wrong with you? I see a tub full of blood. I'm out. But for some reason, John Cho got to look all in there. I don't know what's wrong with people in horror movies.
There's no face in it.
His whole face in there,
Did
right?
I ever tell you the Vegas story? I don't know if
No.
Thad's in the booth anymore,
Please.
but he knows this. So when we went to our hotel for Amazing Comic-Con Las Vegas,
Yeah.
I had to change rooms because
There was blood in the tub?
No, but the tub was like dripping and it wouldn't
Oh.
stop. So they
Oh.
moved me to a new room. I went up to the new room. They said I could go up by myself and just, like wait there
Yeah.
for the key. Or actually, that makes no sense. I went down and got the key, go up by myself to the room. And when I got there, the door was cracked open a little bit. And I went in.
You went in.
Yeah, I mean, like I went in slowly in case somebody else was there.
Right.
But I went in, and when I went down and I told that and the people we were with, they're like, "Are you nuts?
Yeah.
There could have been anything in there." Like, they gave me the key and they told me I could go in. Maybe the room had just been serviced and the door had been, left cracked open. I don't know. I didn't think
It's
twice about it.
Vegas. It's
Look,
Vegas.
yeah, right. What could
There's
happen
my
in Vegas?
excuse.
Right?
Yeah,
That's what Eddie
yeah.
Murphy said back in the 80s. White people just love to walk into that horror stuff. They just don't care. It's fun. That's why they're
I
the
don't
leads of
know.
these
No, you-
movies.
you said it.
That's why I love John Cho coming in, though. John Cho's like, something weird's going on here. And
John
then the-
Cho and Betty Gilpin,
Yeah.
they make me this cast is just phenomenal because
Yeah.
you got John Cho, Betty Gilpin, Jackie Weaver, who is
Jackie Weaver's great.
even with the Academy Award nomination, I still find that she is one of the most undervalued
Yeah.
actors out there
Yeah.
right now. But Andrea Riseborough,
Yeah, Riseborough.
can do anything.
Yep.
Anything at all. Seriously, just go to her IMDb page. Pick a random 3 movies, and I guarantee you will never get the same performance in any of those movies. So the fact that she is involved in this gives me all the faith in the world. RB3, are you into The Grudge?
I'm super into The Grudge. I'm super into Japanese cinema in general and J-horror in particular. It was really interesting that we had that phase in the early 2000s. It's really sad to see that kind of phase out, but I'm glad to see that this is a reboot that can kind of work. I think the fact that Ghost House Productions putting this together, Sam Raimi's
Yes.
production company, I think is amazing. They hire a lot of like young USC students to be like their interns and stuff like that too. So I think it's great. And obviously they had that Crocodile movie earlier in the year. I forget the name of it off the top of my head.
Crawl?
Crawl. Yeah. Was that crocodile or alligators?
Alligators.
Alligators. Okay, I don't know the difference, but yeah, that was a
Florida
great,
people just yelled at the screen.
But that was great. And this movie feels pretty reminiscent of that. And plus, John Cho. I don't want to like stop singing the praises of John Cho because I recently saw a movie Searching.
Oh, yeah.
that he did. Absolutely
So
amazing.
good.
Yeah, he was great, and he's a true star. So a lot to look forward to in this movie.
So the other thing I wanted to point out here, and I'm probably Nick Pesci. Pesci?
Sure.
Yes.
The director of Eyes of My Mother. That is a bold choice here, and I feel like I could already get little tinges of why he's such a unique director in this trailer. There is something about it, and it takes a lot to freak me out in a trailer. There is something deeply unsettling about this, just the way the whole thing is cut together. And, I know he's not sitting there cutting that, so props to whoever cut that, because it's like, imagine that playing on the big screen before another movie. I will bet you anything that a trailer like that gets an audible reaction from the crowd. The only thing here that does raise some alarms for me is the January release date, because
Yeah.
when you release a horror movie the first weekend of January, there is a good chance that could make a lot of money. But I also do think many studios look at that date and say, well, we got a not so great movie here. Let's put it there because at least we'll make a lot of money weekend 1. But I'm still holding out hope for this. I really do think that this could be a worthwhile reboot regardless. Do Do you guys feel the same?
I like that it's a January release date because I think it's like some films have got to take a chance to kind of break the schneid of the January stigma, right? I mean, February was that as well until all these superhero movies came out.
Or
and
like
broke
it with the first weekend of September.
Right, exactly. That as well. So someone's got to break the schneid in January, and this looks like a good attempt. Plus, it's a reboot of a reboot of a remake of a remake. You know, it's like, so you're not expecting it to blow the doors off the box office. But if it does really well and kind of shocks people with the amount of money it's making, then you can make that claim. Hey, we were the first studio and the first film that kind of shocked people in January and made some money. And now it's a 12-month year of possibilities for movies, and you break that once and for all. So why not with this film? I think it's a bold choice, and I like it. Let's see how it works out for him, Cotton.
Who's Cotton?
That's a dodgeball reference. That's a bold. Some of you got it. Some of you got it.
I didn't get it.
Right,
Is it going to make $900 million?
It ain't Joker.
All right. We got a whole bunch of time right now. So send in those live chat questions. We want to get a bunch of them here. There's some really interesting questions about remakes and reboots right now, which seems to be semi the theme of this show here. The first one comes from Rick Zamoris, who is asking, what is the difference between a remake and a reboot?
I think that's pretty easy. I think a remake is if you're remaking one particular movie. I think a reboot is like starting over a franchise. That's how I personally interpret it. But I don't know. I could be completely off in that.
I think that I think that your definition makes a lot of sense, but I think it's very confusing when we talk about it on this show because I don't think studios and trades necessarily use those words correctly or. I mean, we know what happens when a trade story hits the internet. It's not necessarily a firm, confirmation from the studio, let's say.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe their source could pass the word remake to them when the studio really intends for it to be a reboot. So, I don't know. In the case of Pirates, for example, I would call, based on what I'm getting from the stories thus far, that a reboot because it doesn't necessarily sound like they want to remake Curse of the Black Pearl. They want to reinvigorate the franchise. They want to start fresh.
But are you rebooting if you keep Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow?
I still think you could be rebooting.
Yeah, I think that's a reboot.
You would still call it a reboot?
If they... I was about to say if they go with Johnny Depp and he's not the lead, then they still could be rebooting the franchise, reinvigorating the franchise with new things. But now that I say it, even if they kept Johnny Depp in the lead role, there are still other ways, I think, to make it a reboot. You could, I don't know,
100%.
completely change the tone or style of the movie.
Yes,
you could put Jack Sparrow in a completely different location for all I know.
I think we have to find a new term for it because, like, look at Jumanji, right? Jumanji has just one reference to Alan Parrish, maybe a second reference. But is that a sequel?
That's a sequel.
Is it a sequel?
That's a sequel and a reboot.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think
there's a lot of what that Ghostbusters was with that was
a reboot. I think
McCarthy.
that's
Is that a reboot? Because you have Bill Murray in this thing. You're using the same using the same theme song, and you're saying 30 years later. Yeah. So it's like you're connecting it without connecting it. So people need to be very clear about this, though. This muddled.
What about a reboot qual?
See, that's why I like
people
that
genuinely use that term.
Because you know what? I think that applies to movies like Creed. I think that applies to movies like Mad Max Fury Road.
Creed is not a reboot. You think Creed's a reboot?
Yes, I think that's a reboot.
Oh, I can't.
Because it's not even Rocky anymore. It's not even a Rocky movie anymore. It's Rocky's a side character. But see, I think I would be interested if they do a Pirates of the Caribbean in that style too, though, where it's like where Johnny Depp's like the mentor figure.
Yeah,
I could see that too. But I think Mad Max Fury Road is. They say technically that's a sequel, but to me, I consider that a reboot too because it's completely recasting.
I feel like the word reboot is just so directly tied to reinvigorating a franchise, breathing new life into it. So I feel like any movie that does that with a familiar property.
I consider The Force Awakens a reboot, personally. Wow. I personally consider it that, but I don't know. You know, it gave a good life. It gave a new life to Star Wars.
That might be a step too far for me. And similarly, I would call Terminator Dark Fate a sequel and not a reboot.
A sequel? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, this is too much. I think it has a reboot. I think the reboot works for Terminator Dark Fate. And I don't want to call it reboot take. Reboot take? Is that
what is that?
A reboot and a remake at the same time.
I like that.
That's impossible. I don't want to say that wrong.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna continue going down this black hole and never emerge. I do have one other reboot question here. Abab is asking the worst reboot ever.
Oh, that's tough.
Wait, Roka, I have a question for you.
Oh, no.
Would you consider Independence Day Resurgence a reboot?
That is not a reboot. That's a sequel. All the characters
Yeah.
come back. All the characters come back. It's a fun old time.
So then why isn't Dark Fate? Or did you say Dark Fate is reboot?
No, I didn't.
said it
I was
wasn't.
trying.
All right.
No, you said it was a reboot.
No, I
Oh,
say,
you said
it's,
it was a
I say it's a sequel. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And I said because they've had other installments, it makes it confusing to say it's a sequel. Because that's the thing. Like,
yeah, but it's a retcon. Oh, no more
That's
words.
there
No.
we go. It's not even a retcon, I don't think, 100%.
It's a retcon.
Oh, yeah, because you're removing
Because it
mythology.
erases everything that was
sorry about that.
released after T2.
Yeah, so that way I don't think you can call it.
Wait, so in that case,
Is Halloween a sequel or a reboot? The new
Yeah,
one.
that's a reboot,
2018.
isn't
that's a reboot-quel.
It's a reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's right
I
in the
don't
middle.
like this conversation.
This is
James
crazy.
Cameron, Aliens, can we do a reboot for that? I'd be very happy to see that.
Worst reboot.
I don't know. What's the worst reboot ever?
I mean, if
I pulled up a
Resurgence
list.
counts as a
That's
reboot,
not
I
a
would say
reboot.
that.
It's a sequel. Everybody can
I'm
Judd Hirsch is in it.
I'm going with The Mummy, the Tom Cruise one.
That's pretty bad, yeah.
That's pretty bad.
I mean, they really tried with that one, but I thought it was close, you know?
Okay.
I mean, this is another, is it a sequel or a reboot thing? I was pretty disappointed in Men in Black International.
great
I
call.
thought I did have, I was fine sitting there and watching it, and there were beats in it that I did think had a whole lot of potential, but I really did want that to serve the reboot purpose where it really did bring the franchise back to life and continued. So while I really didn't think it was as bad overall as many others out there did, but I do think it's very disappointing from a reboot standpoint.
For sure.
I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but I would
Oh,
say Superman Returns.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the
Okay.
2005 one.
Oh, wow.
I absolutely hate that movie. I love Brandon Routh in the movie. Always felt he was hard done by that film, and I'm glad he's come back to play what he plays in the Arrow series and get him. And now that he's wearing the clothes again for the crossover, I'm excited for that. But that film is terrible. Singer essentially traced the first movie in a way that Force Awakens didn't, with no ingenuity at all. And you add Super Kid, and Kate Bosworth is maybe the worst Lois Lane I've ever seen. So everything about the reboot was so incredibly wrong. And they were trying to bring back the vibe of the Donner Superman, but to me, they failed terribly.
I feel like there's another obvious answer we're missing here, and I just I can't figure it out. So let's think about it while we move on to a Jonathan Peck question. I saw Dolomite Is My Name last Friday. What's your favorite Eddie Murphy film?
Oh, Coming to America. It's not even a question. It's not even a question. To me, it's not even a question. The most quotable of his films, the one that is the most universally beloved, I think, and the one that crosses multiple generations. You can enjoy that if you're 10 years old. You can enjoy that if you're 80 years old. And I think not a lot of his movies can do that. This one, where he's the lead, rather. Obviously Mulan, but this one is the one.
Yeah, for sure. I got to go with Beverly Hills Cop, personally. Yeah, that one makes me laugh the most. The banana in the tailpipe just always kills me for some reason. There's a lot about that movie that just makes me laugh, so that one's up there for sure.
Right on.
I'm trying to think of the ones that I used to watch growing up the most, and it was Dr. Dolittle and also Mulan. I mean, just to give a little credit to a great voice. Because he's one of the best of the best as far as voice actors go. It's
Donkey and Mulan.
The Shrek franchise is not my favorite, but you can't deny the fact that he's kind of brilliant as Donkey.
For sure.
So I think I'm going to give a little love to his voice performances here, but I cannot wait to watch Dolomite.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's going to be my going back to New York movie for when I go home on Thursday night, and I'm so excited.
Don't be surprised you're laughing all the way through the plane. Like
everyone will be
people
sleeping
give you a
but
look.
me. It'll be fine.
You should be waking people up from laughing.
I'm
so
already
hard.
tempted to be like the one jerk who goes on that plane dressed in a Halloween costume. So what can make me even weirder than that?
Yeah, it's also underrated Eddie Murphy one I just got to throw out there is Bowfinger.
Bowfinger's
that's obviously like that with Steve Martin. I mean, come on, like it's about filmmaking.
Yeah,
it's like a predecessor to Dolomite, honestly.
And I would argue the first hour of Dreamgirls, he's incredible in that film.
Oh, for sure, he's great.
And Alan Arkin did not deserve that Best Supporting Actor. Should have gone to Eddie. If Eddie hadn't dropped Norbit, I think Eddie would have won that thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Going away, unfortunately, because there's nothing Alan Arkin did in Little Miss Sunshine that he hadn't done in 70 other films. Eddie was great in Dreamgirls.
Yeah.
All right, going up the list here. I spy one from J. Scott For Real, who's asking, which A24 films would you most be open to seeing a sequel to? It's a really good question.
Oh, wow.
Oof,
That's
damn.
interesting.
That's
They
deep.
have a great plethora.
I already know my answer. It's
Okay.
it's Lady Bird.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. That's
Yeah.
Oh, in
great.
college.
I just think.
Okay.
I also think so. I'm very into the idea of coming of age movies because we traditionally think of them as, you know, the teenage phase, coming of age from being a kid to an adult, but you can
Right.
come of age at any point in your life. So I don't know, that would just be a really interesting thing, especially if, you know, Saoirse Ronan stayed attached to that film and we could revisit that character at all different stages of her life. I don't know, that could be interesting.
I like 3. I like to see what happens in Room. What happens next? A sequel to Room,
Okay,
or a
okay.
sequel to Ex Machina. Now that she's out there,
Ex Machina's good.
That is an
Right?
excellent
Yeah.
call.
what would
That's
that be
good.
like for her
I
being
want Ex
out there
Machina,
now?
too.
And how can
Yeah.
you walk the line to not compare to Westworld? That
Yeah,
would be
that's
interesting
good
to
too.
see how they could walk that
good
line.
too.
You mentioned Lady Bird. I think that's a good one. The Witch. I think The Witch could work
No.
in multiple decades, like different times. Is what I mean. If that
They can make I think they could. I mean,
Like a
this
17
is something. This is something I think that I would only would want to
Okay.
do. I think they can make a Western version of that movie, like honestly, really well.
of The Witch,
Yeah, of the witch, like
Yeah.
set in like a Western,
Yeah.
Okay.
19th century type of time period. I don't know. That's just me.
Right, because persecuting, what was it? You know, it's basically about showing the witches and all this and how they got persecuted. That has transcended time. So you could make it through different time periods in our history in that way.
When you first said The Witch, I immediately thought of the ending of it. I'm like, no, like
yeah.
that to me is like a hard
ending,
a
for
hard
sure.
cutoff right
Yeah,
there. But
yeah,
the
yeah.
idea of seeing that play out, and you know, like especially if you you kept it horror, but you tapped
Yes.
into different genres.
yes.
I don't know, could be
Yeah.
interesting.
For me, I love the Florida Project, Sean Baker's film, and I would love to see those kids, that
Yes.
story continue. Just being, and I think just the whole the backdrop of Disney World and how that's still developing I think that'd be really great. Also, too, you know, I mean, I don't know if there's much of a story left to tell. But I would like to see a sequel to The Disaster Artist to some extent, like
his sequel.
Disaster Artist. I mean, I don't know if there's much story left for that, but I think that still could be really funny.
Like
the timing was,
instead of the making of
it's
the
like-
room, the
it's
making of the disaster artist.
I could
That could
love
All right.
Yeah.
I would semi be open to that. I don't know though. All right. Let's get something from. I just spied a question that I liked and now it's gone. All right. I'm going to let you two answer this one, but I'm
Okay.
not going to because it's going to be a surprise. Star Orbit's agent is asking us what was your now I picked a different question. What was your favorite Halloween costume you wore that was based on a movie character? Someone also had asked us what we're dressing up as this Halloween, which I am going to not answer. So get both questions now. What are you dressing up for as Halloween? And then what was your favorite Halloween costume you wore based on a movie character?
I'm not creative with Halloween costumes, so every year I just end up getting really lazy and just wearing like a Kawhi jersey or Alonzo Ball jersey or something like that. But I mean, I've always wanted to go as Luke Cage, but I can never fully commit to shaving my head. So that's a dream one. I think one day I'll get there.
Right on.
But favorite Halloween costume, I've always loved Spider-Man. That's always been my Spider-Man bag. It's always been
Jesus,
Spider-Man.
I don't really dress up as. I'm not a Halloween guy. It's not a big deal to me. So I haven't dressed up in like 5 years. So it's not a big deal to me. I find as I get older, I care less and less about holidays, except for Christmas. But that being said, I think the best one I ever dressed up as is not a movie thing, but it was Elvis. About 10 years ago, I dressed up with a full jumpsuit, had the
I
cape,
can see that.
had the glasses,
Yeah.
and my hair was long enough that it kind of looked like that. And in fact, on the plane, going home to Christmas that year, a lady asked me if I was an Elvis impersonator because of my hair. So, like at that time, I had grown it out so much.
Cool,
but that was
I
probably my
almost
favorite
didn't hear any of that because you're such a holiday Grinch. I can't
Yeah, I was
handle
like,
it
Grinch,
right now.
I'm not saying you can't go and enjoy yourself. I don't care.
Do you
I
need
don't-
insult to somebody? Do you need?
No, not at all. I'm quite happy
I
not
think you
enjoying
just
it.
need like a good Halloween party or something.
I was invited
you're
to
not
3 of
doing-
them over the weekend. I didn't go. It wasn't my jam.
Exactly.
I didn't want to see. I just didn't know. I used to go to West
You're not
Hollywood.
you're not not doing October right.
I think I'm doing it just fine.
Did you go to any of the like the haunted mazes or the pop-up?
I don't need to do that anymore.
But you do.
I did it when I was
You do,
younger.
and you just
I had a
don't
good
know
time.
it.
I had a good time when I was younger doing them. They were fun. The Universal Halloween Horror Nights is great.
I'm telling
when I
you,
get to do it.
I would like to bet that if you went back to, let's say, a Horror Nights or something like that, that would kind of like spark a little bit of extra love for Halloween. It's like when I walked out of that Killer Clowns from Outer Space maze, first thing I thought of is I have to rewatch that movie. First thing I did when I got home is I rewatched that movie. It gives you that feeling.
It does when you're that age. It does.
Right. For sure.
When you're my age, it's like, we've done it all. I'm good to go. I'm good to go. I got to walk where? All the way down the ramp and then all the way back. I'm good. I'm good.
You got real life horrors to worry about.
Yeah, I got real life horrors to worry about.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
when Rocha is just sitting in the office in his plain clothes on Thursday, being all boring, I'll be at this desk in costume.
Ooh, yeah.
Not spoiling anything,
Uh-oh.
but it's ridiculous.
What about a hint? Can you give a hint?
Ridiculous.
Can you give a hint?
It's something that's going to make hosting this show extremely awkward and difficult, but I'm going to try to make it work. I think I really liked actually on Collider Nightmares when I dressed up as like Bloody Sydney in Scream on the show.
Right.
But there was one year where I just told this story to somebody where I was determined to dress up as something from District 9 because I love that movie
that's
so
good.
much. So I found this T-shirt online where it was like a prawn shaking hand with a human hand saying, like prawns and humans unite. And I had like one contact in, I had an alien hand and everything, and nobody knew who I was. I was so mad.
I don't think that's
so bummed.
very iconic. Like,
No, it's not. It's
design.
not at all. It's like I don't want to be something too obvious. I want to
Yeah.
be something that I have to put a
Yeah,
little
that's
thought
nice.
and creativity
Right,
into.
right,
But then
right.
it blows up in your face like that.
Yeah, it's funny because I had a history teacher in high school who dressed up as the Big Lebowski, and it's like and nobody got it. I went to a math and science high school, so nobody like watched movies. So nobody got that he was
What?
nobody watched movies.
Not even movies about math and science. There's so many good ones out there.
It's maybe like 4, or 5. But what Good Will Hunting? I think that's maybe it.
that works. Imitation Game.
Imitation Game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that came out when I was a senior,
That's
so it was
true.
already too late.
Did you all dress up as Neil deGrasse Tyson? Just everybody dressing up as
A lot of people did Neil deGrasse Tyson for sure. I mean, that's the easy one. A lot of people did Elon Musk too. But yeah, that was
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else we can get in here that I have not already asked. Lau, oh boy. Oh, this is a big question. Lau is asking, what has been your favorite year for film over the past 5 to 10 years and why?
Favorite year for film?
Way too deep.
Yeah.
I think
5 to
huge.
10 films.
I think I have an answer.
Do you really?
Yeah. For me, there's really no time period that really topped it for me than 2014. Because 2014 gave us Birdman, it gave us Boyhood, which a lot of people disagree with, but it's a really great
good pick.
And I honestly, to me, when I think of the quality of the year, I think of the quality of the Best Picture nominees. And 2014, 2015 had a really great back-to-back season. But to me, 2014 had a lot of experimentation. Interstellar came out in 2014.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of interesting cinema that came out in 2014.
I'm going to go with RB3's answer. I like that.
I don't know,
Everything you brought up, I loved. I think the easiest way is to go to the list of Best Picture nominees from every year and then see how many of those you still love and still hold up and still have a good place in your heart. I think that's the way to do it. In 2014, you just mentioned all those things.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Gone Girl, the Lego Movie, Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I think that's a good choice.
That's a pretty good list.
Whiplash.
I think the first year my mind went to was 2013, just because I think of The Conjuring and what that did for horror, and that movie was my favorite movie of that particular year. Then I think Short Term 12 might have been 2012, or maybe it debuted at a festival 2012 and came out 2013.
Yeah, I think that could be the case.
This is another time of the show when Box Office Mojo's yearly calendar would come in handy that I can't access right now.
Can I say though? I think the Short Term 12 might be one of the top 4 movies of the decade for sure, or the past decade.
I love that
for
you're
sure.
saying that.
Yeah,
Look at you, just
I
trying
love
to
that
get
you're
back on this show. You're shameless.
He's not.
shameless.
He's
Listen.
not wrong,
No,
and
that's
it's
a great-
super cool too when you look at that cast and you see all the success that have come their way. It's just really like
Everybody
truly
from that
deeply
movie.
talented, like literally everybody. And now with Destin Crenton doing a Marvel movie, like yes, I'm just so happy for them.
I want to throw 2010 in there. The American
Social Network.
The Fighter, Social Network, How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people
That's
loved.
good. Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3. Inception. Inception. The King's Speech. This is good stuff.
Was Mad Max Fury Road 2015?
2015.
Yeah.
That was
So
my second
there's
choice.
another
That's a
shout
good
out
one.
for
Second choice.
2015 because I also think that was
Grit.
the year that Inside Out came out, which is now my
yeah.
favorite Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Yes. And also the same year that Ex Machina came out as well.
That's true
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You know what? Every year is great.
Every
You
year
pick
is
your
great.
year and it's got great movies in
Nailed
it.
it.
RB3 Rocha, thank you so much for spending your Monday morning with me.
Thank you.
Same to Adam in the booth, Dorian in the live chat. Guys, there is so much good stuff coming your way on the Collider Video YouTube channel, like Collider Live at 10 a.m. Pacific. So be sure to make your way over there and then come right back here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. PT for a brand new episode of Movie Talk.